You know, recently I joined a Facebook group page called Incredibly Strange Films. And they have another one as well, Incredible, Strange, and Beautiful Films. And it got me thinking as I was listening to, as I looked up the information and I looked up, well, basically I looked into what a lot of these, well, basically, truth is, I looked into what this group was like. And it's an interesting group because it makes you wonder exactly what other strange and incredible films are there out there, you know? It makes you wonder that. It makes you wonder what kind of other films are there. For example, there are a list, they list, when they ask each other, they list out a group. They, basically, when they list, or they ask, what kind of strange films star this actor or actress? What psychedelic films that make you wonder what the blank did I just watch and see? At most times you will get a result. You will get an answer to said question. And when you get an answer to said question, it makes you curious as to why you haven't heard about this film before. So, by joining a group like Incredibly Strange Films on Facebook, it makes me wonder what the potential is for any other strange films to come. I mean, think about what we have already gotten animated and live action wise in the past several decades, if not the past several years. We are entering, and I've talked about this before, we are entering an age to where you could put just about anything on the screen as far as story goes, you could put anything visually on the screen that, as the name of this group would back up, could be incredibly strange, could be incredibly wondrous, if you will. I mean, think about it this way. When Sausage Party got made, yes, it's an adult animated film. Yes, it's it's one of those films that make you wonder, how in the world did this get greenlit? What the blank am I watching? What was the point of that one climactic scene, if you know what I'm talking about? What the heck is going on? Sausage Party is one of those films that falls in that category. So, by falling in that category, and especially being a movie that came out recently in the past several years, it makes you wonder. It makes you curious as to what other films could potentially come to light. Again, like I said, we are in a day and age to where anything is possible. We truly are. We are in that day and age. There are several people that I commission stories from that, if their stories were to be adapted into films, just on the visual representation on screen and the intrigue that visual representation would be sending, there is no doubt folks would want to go and see it. And sometimes the stories that I would commission, or I would read from said commissioner that they would do on their own, would be interesting and intriguing. You know, I go to DeviantArt, and one person named Grape Athenia has a series called What Dreams May Become. And she had been working on this for the past several years. And thanks to me and several other watchers, followers of hers, we have helped contribute to the story with suggestions and ideas. Heck, Grape Athenia even commissioned a couple of side stories for me and another person that connected to the What Dreams May Become world, but were side stories. Heck, she even dedicated 2 parts. Originally it was going to be 1 part, but ended up making it 2 parts. Of What Dreams May Become, because she hit a milestone. She basically came out and said that she hit a certain milestone as far as subscribers or viewers or whatever it was, that she would dedicate the next chapter in the next chapter of What Dreams May Become. She would dedicate that to us, the fans, by allowing us, the fans, the viewers, the followers, the readers of her story series, to suggest what other kind of transformations we could think of that she would add to the story. Now, like I said, originally she was going to make it 1 part, but because she got so many suggestions, she decided to make it 2 parts. But it wasn't just What Dreams May Become. I would commission her for a series of stories that took place in a world that started off with 1 story and then spun off into another, and they just connected together, involving potions, science, and a place where they would get this stuff. And by getting this potion and stuff and mixing it in with a bit of science, 3 women can become anything they want to become. 3 women initially could become anything they want. Sometimes they could become slime girls or goo girls and be able to use the gooiness, the sliminess, to shapeshift into whatever they want to shapeshift into. The point is, if Grape Athenia was approached by anybody in the future, there's no doubt that her stories, potentially, in the right hands, could be developed into great feature-length films, whether they're animated or live action. Because we are in a time now where anything is possible. Anything can be brought to light. A good example, there are other good examples out there as well. There's a few people that have stories that last and continue on to this day. Caretaker is one of them, by Devakin. I can't think of his name. It's really interesting, especially the way the last part ended. It makes you curious as to what's going to happen next. Mr. Internet Man has a series of webcomics that he's done on his DeviantArt site called Mystic Makeover. And he recently added a new character that has the same powers and ability as his original character. And if you read these webcomics of Mystical Makeover, you could definitely see the potential one could have with a feature-length film, whether it was animated or live action. Crime Zero Edge, at another site, has his own stories that he did called The Great Houdini. With a few modifications with certain characters, with a few modifications or alterations to certain characters, Crime Zero Edge's Great Houdini story could be one that people would love to see on the big screen. Because the point is, visually, these stories would lend themselves to huge success at the box office, because even if the story is inconsistent or the story doesn't make any sense, visually people would be just entranced by what they would see on the big screen. They would. There is no doubt in my mind that they would. No doubt. There's no doubt in my mind that they would be visually entranced by what they would see. But not just that either. It's not just that either. There are comic books from Marvel, DC, Image, IDW, Archie Comics, you name it, that they basically have had stories in the past and the present of some of the more established, well-known titles that if those stories were visually put on screen would make people wonder what the heck is going on. Or what the blank was that about? What the blank did I see? I mean, we know anime, for example, really lends itself to this in many ways. Anime really lends itself. And what I'm talking about, recently, that long-haired creepy guy did a review or finished up his Revolutionary Girl Utena retrospective. And he finished it up by talking about the movie that condensed the entire series into about an hour and a half. And the overall impression that he and his fellow co-reviewers saw was a movie that really was not just a condensed version of the entire series and story arc, but the ending and some of the imagery throughout made you wonder, what the blank am I seeing? You see what I'm saying? Anime, that right there is a good example of how anime has really taken it up a notch when it comes to those kind of scenarios. The point is, anything can be turned, any kind of story or property that lends itself to fantasy or just plain out of this world weirdness, that if a story is properly executed in it, can probably be adapted very well. From what I have seen, even another person called Prender has done this with several stories as well. One called Emily the Goo Girl series, stuff like that. And he's tried to, and basically sometimes he connects that world to the worlds that Grape Athenia has created. The overall thing is, when you look at today's landscape with films, anything is possible. Anything is possible. It truly is. I mean, look at it this way. Look at it this way. Anything is possible, right? Would you have thought that years ago we'd get an Ant-Man and the Wasp movie? With the potential that, even if it's not in the same category, but they would pay homage in said upcoming movie to a panel scene in a comic book issue of Avengers, where Ant-Man and Wasp are getting it on, and both are taking turns shrinking down to itsy bitsy size to kind of give the other to give the other the you know what. No, he didn't. But now we are in a time where that's possible. The point is, there are, as the title of this Facebook group page puts it, are incredibly strange films that have come out in the past several decades, if not the past several years. But the point of this audio video, is to let people know that there will still be incredibly strange films to come. And they could come from any source, any place, any material. The people I named off, from Grape Athenia, Prenda, Crime Zero Edge, Mr. Internet Man, and many others, are just examples of stories and webcomics that they've created that could end up being adapted in the future into feature films or even television series. We're in that day and age where something like that is possible. And you know what? In the end, since we are in that day and age, their ideas, Grape Athenia's, Mr. Internet Man's, Prenda's, Crime Zero Edge, and many others, I guarantee if they ever get this chance, this shot, to have those stories adapted, have those stories adapted into feature films or television series, you, no matter how incredibly strange they are, no matter how consistent or inconsistent the story may be, visually people will be entranced, and because of that visual entrancement, those shows and movies will become huge hits right off the bat. And we all know that. We all know that to be true. We all know that. And I know it's hard to believe that, but again, we are in that day and age where it's possible. I mean, heck, Robin Wright did The Congress several years ago. You want to talk about a WTF incredibly strange film? Look no further. The thing is, if something like The Congress can be made, anything's possible. Anything is possible. So, that's all I'm going to say on it. But as the title of this audio video says, there are still incredible strange films and shows to come in the future. Well, it's going to say something like that. Basically, the title's going to have something along the lines of incredibly strange, something along the lines of there are more incredibly strange films and shows to come in the future. Well, something like that. So, let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. I'm out.